the screen splits. On the left, ancient Rome burns under a bruised dusk sky. Smoke curls around shattered marble columns, obscuring the horizon. On the right, a modern Wall Street trading floor glows with the frantic, jagged red lines of a market crash. Both images remain frozen, locked in a slow, suffocating zoom that pulls the viewer into the center of the ruin. The silence is heavy, pressing against the ears like deep water. There is no movement, only the steady, relentless encroachment of the frame. This is not just history, it is a mirror reflecting the same structural decay across 2 millennia. The smoke on the left drifts in a loop, while the red ticker on the right pulses with a dying rhythm. Every jagged line of the stock chart mirrors the jagged silhouette of the crumbling marble. The air in both scenes feels thin, drained of oxygen by the sheer weight of the collapse. We are watching the end of an era, repeated in 2 different languages of power. The zoom continues, unblinking, forcing the eye to trace the cracks in the stone and the flickering pixels of the screen. Nothing survives this gaze. The 2 worlds are bound by the same inevitable gravity, pulling toward a single, silent point of total failure. The ruins vanish, replaced by the cold, precise geometry of a map. It is the Mediterranean, etched in dark stone, waiting for the light. Suddenly, lines of gold ignite across the surface. They trace the veins of the empire, stretching from the sun-baked grain fields of Egypt to the dense, dark forests of Gaul and the bustling spice markets of Syria. These are the arteries of power, carrying the weight of an entire world. The lines pulse with a rhythmic, golden glow, a heartbeat that spans continents. Watch the movement. The flow is constant, a steady stream of resources feeding the center. But then, the rhythm shifts. A flicker begins at the edges, a momentary stutter in the light. The pulse skips. The lines dim, then flare, then dim again, struggling to maintain their reach across the vast, unforgiving distance. The map is no longer a symbol of expansion. It is a diagnostic of a failing system. Every pulse is slower than the last. The gold light fades, leaving the arteries dark and hollow. The heartbeat is dying, and the map begins to cool, turning from gold to a dull, lifeless gray. The map fades, leaving only the cold, vaulted ceiling of the Senate. Dust motes dance in thin, sharp shafts of light, hanging suspended in the stagnant air. Below, the senators sit in a rigid, perfect semicircle. They are carved from the same stone as the floor, their faces locked in a permanent, silent debate that no longer requires words. Not a finger twitches, not a head turns. They are monuments to a decision that was never reached, trapped in the amber of their own inaction. The camera pulls back, sliding through the heavy stone arches and out into the forum. Here, the scale of the silence is absolute. It is a sea of motionless silhouettes, thousands of figures frozen in the middle of a stride, a gesture, a shout. They are ghosts of a living city, caught in the grip of a sudden, invisible paralysis. The camera pushes through this dense crowd, weaving between the unmoving forms. Every face is turned toward an unseen horizon, eyes wide and fixed on a future that has already arrived. Above, the sky is a bruised, oppressive gray. There is no sound, only the visual pressure of 1,000 lives brought to a total, suffocating halt. The horizon remains empty, yet the tension suggests that something is coming. High above the forum, the balcony offers a view of the gathering shadows. Emperor Tiberius stands at the stone edge. He does not lean, he does not shift his weight, and he does not look down at the city. He is a fixed point in a world beginning to drift. The camera crawls toward his face, searching for a twitch of the eye or a tightening of the jaw, but finds only the stillness of a monument. Behind him, the interior of the chamber is dark. A heavy urn sits on the edge of a pedestal. It tips. The movement is slow, deliberate, and final. Gold coins pour over the rim in a sudden, violent cascade. They hit the stone floor with a sharp, rhythmic clatter that echoes through the empty halls. The sound is frantic, a metallic rain that fills the silence. One coin strikes the edge of a step, deflects, and rolls into the center of the dark floor. It begins to spin. The hum reaches a peak, then falters. The coin leans, scrapes against the stone, and loses its momentum. It wobbles once, twice, and then falls flat. It lies motionless in the dark. A rough stone wall emerges from the shadows. Etched into the rock, a timeline begins to pulse with a faint, rhythmic light. The years flare in sequence: 33 AD, 64 AD, 180 AD. Each date burns bright, then dims into the cold grey of the stone. 250 AD flickers, followed by 330 AD. The final date, 476 AD, glows once and fades into total darkness. The camera shifts, focusing on a single denarius resting on a wooden bench. The silver surface catches the light, but the edges are jagged. A thin crack runs across the face of the coin. The camera pushes in until the silver skin fills the frame. It begins to flake away, curling like dead leaves. Beneath the precious metal, a dull, reddish-brown surface appears. It is copper, raw and exposed. The rot spreads, eating through the silver layer. Particles of metal dust fall away, settling into the grain of the wood. The coin loses its luster, its edges softening as the base metal beneath oxidizes. The transformation is absolute. Where there was once the shine of imperial wealth, there is now only the dull, porous texture of cheap alloy. The silver is gone. A merchant's scale sits on a wooden table. The side holding the coins rises, jerking upward, as the empty basket on the opposite end drops with a heavy thud. The balance is broken, the metal weights no longer matching the value of the goods. The scale does not settle. It oscillates, a permanent, uneven tilt. Outside the city, the frontier wall meets the dawn. The stone blocks shift, grinding against each other as the mortar turns to dust. A crack widens, and a section of the wall collapses into the trench below. Green grass pushes through the fissures, reclaiming the stone. Further out, an abandoned watchtower leans into the mist. The structure groans, then sheds its outer layer of masonry. Inside the treasury, the shelves are bare. Cobwebs stretch across the empty stone, catching the damp air. On the ground, a bronze eagle standard lies face down in the dirt. It is half buried, the wings bent against the weight of the earth. A soft, relentless rain begins to fall. It pools in the hollows of the metal. The water runs clear, then turns brown, carrying the remnants of the standard deeper into the mud. The rain does not stop. It erases the markings. The rain stops. The mud of the frontier fades into a stark, white void. A newspaper headline about inflation slides across the screen, the black ink bleeding into the texture of aged parchment. The paper curls at the edges, transforming into the smooth, synthetic surface of a modern credit card. The card rotates, its magnetic strip catching the light, before dissolving into a stream of jagged red lines. These lines pulse across a dark monitor, mimicking the frantic rhythm of a stock ticker. The numbers climb, then plummet, tracing the same erratic path as the debased currency of the past. A digital ledger appears, its rows of figures scrolling upward at a blurring speed. The screen splits again, showing the Roman coin on one side and a glowing digital asset on the other. They flicker in unison. The coin loses its silver skin, and the digital ticker loses its value. The cycle repeats, centuries collapsing into a single, continuous loop. Every transaction leaves a trace, a ghost of the previous collapse. The red lines sharpen, cutting through the darkness like a warning. The frantic red lines of the market crash retreat, leaving a void of absolute black. Slowly, a single, polished surface emerges from the darkness, a slab of dark, cold stone. A hand places a Roman denarius onto the surface. The metal rings with a sharp, hollow sound as it settles. Beside it, a crisp, modern dollar bill is laid down, its edges perfectly flat against the grain of the stone. The camera moves in, tightening the frame until the two objects fill the view. Under the harsh, focused light, the differences vanish. The silver of the coin and the fiber of the paper both bear the marks of authority, the weight of promise, and the inevitable stain of time. They lie in silence, two artifacts of the same impulse, separated by 2 millennia but bound by the same fragility. The light begins to dim, creeping from the edges of the frame toward the center. The coins lose their luster, sinking into the encroaching shadow. As the surface disappears, tiny, glowing embers drift upward from the bottom of the screen, swirling in the cooling air. They rise slowly, flickering like dying sparks, before winking out one by one. The darkness becomes total. In the center of the void, white serif letters begin to glow, sharp and steady against the black. They form a single, lingering query. What if Rome had a central bank? The text holds for a long, heavy moment. The last ember drifts across the letters before the screen fades entirely into the final, absolute silence of the dark.